Welcome back, algebra class, to another Mr. Chow time. This time, we're solving one-step equations. This is lesson 10. Let's look at some vocabulary words to start off. First, solve an equation. Solving an equation is exactly what it sounds like. You have to find the value of the variable that makes the equation true. So, x plus 2 equals 4. Solving this equation means you need to find the value for x that makes this equation true, right? So that would be x equals 2. Equivalent equations. Equivalent equations is something that you've been doing this entire time, but you just haven't had a name for yet. And basically just means that when you perform the same operation on both sides of an equation, then you found an equivalent equation. And I'll just give you a really quick example of this with basically the same example. X plus 3 equals 6. So if we subtract 3 to both sides of this equation, then what we found is an equivalent expression. an equivalent equation. This equation here, the second one, x equals 3, is the same as x plus 3 equals 6. These are equivalent because you've taken the same steps on both sides of the equal sign. A linear equation is an equation in which the variables have an exponent of 1. So to keep going with this example here, x plus 4 equals 8. This is a linear equation because our variable has an exponent of 1. Having an exponent of 1 is just like having a coefficient of 1. You don't have to write it, like 1x equals x, right? X to the power of 1 also equals just x. So we don't actually write this one. So when you see just an x, this is to the power of 1. For example, x minus 10 equals 20. I've pretty much already done this, but we're just going to do it again. We're going to add 10 to both sides of the equation, and we're going to get x equals 30. So here we found an equivalent equation by doing the same thing to both sides. We can add, we can also subtract, right? We can subtract 10 from both sides, x equals 20. What are these called? I know that these are things that you've been doing, but we're going to give them names, just like we did with the properties. Here are some more properties. I know you're excited. Addition property of equality. This is where you can add basically anything, as long as it's to both sides of an equal sign. The subtraction property of equality is the same thing. You can subtract anything from, as long as you do it from both sides of the equal sign. The multiplication and division property are also the same, with one minor caveat. You cannot multiply or divide by 0, but you can multiply or divide by anything else you want, as long as you do it to both sides of the equation. And just to illustrate this point really quickly, you can see that if we have an equation like 3x equals 6, and we multiply 0 to both sides, then yes, we do get that 0 does equal 0. That is true, but it doesn't really do anything for us. And in some cases, you will change the original meaning of the equation and make it untrue. Although in this case, it's still true because both sides of the equation are true, but let's not get into that too deeply. Just know that with the multiplication and division properties, you cannot multiply or divide by 0. It kind of negates the purpose of doing this. Alrighty, let's take a look at an example of a group of KAS students surveyed. 225, or about 9/20, said they text while watching TV. How many students were surveyed? So first we have to define our variables, right? Well, the question is asking how many students were surveyed. right? So we can just go ahead and we know that we need to find that. And you can look from our sentence that we don't know that, right? We know that 225 answered that they did this, but we don't know how many total students were surveyed. So of the KES students surveyed, this word often tells you that you're multiplying something. 225, or about 9/20, said that they were watching TV. This, or about, tells you that whatever this thing that happens over here in the first part of the sentence is, it's equal to, or about equal to, 9/20, right? So, the last little thing we need to figure out is, what are we multiplying here? So here we have a number of students. And here we have a fraction of a total. Right, and that's what's implied here when they say 9/20, is that from the total amount, 9/20, this is a fraction of that, of this group here. I'm going to delete some of this stuff. Here we go. Okay. 9/20 of our group of KAS students. So that's what you multiply, 9/20 of the total students. And that gives you 225. So how can we multiply, or how can we solve this? Well, we can multiply both sides by 20 over 9. This is the inverse, the multiplicative inverse, right? Where we can cancel these out, and that would give us S equals 225 times 20, which is 4,500 over 9. And to simplify that, S would equal 500. 500 total students were surveyed. 225 of them said that they text while they watch TV. This can be a little bit tricky. So as you're doing your homework here, you may have to consult your classmates or me. Please feel free to do that. Don't just guess, and then if you don't understand what you're doing, like, just go on to the next problem like nothing happened, because I'll know. Bye.